The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Hey, let's go! Get in here! Get in here right now! Get in here! Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our life! 30 minutes for the rest of our life! That's our plan in the first half. It ain't happening. We get the ball. I promise you one thing. We're going to hit somebody and we're taking down the field for a touchdown. I guarantee you that. Guarantee. Look at me. Let's go. We got 30 minutes. Let's go. For the rest of our lives. For the rest of our lives. Let's go. Let's go. Rock on. Hey. Hey. Rock on. Rock on. Hey. Put your heart on the table. We got it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the final timeout here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm your host, HG, and we are in the Fantasy Football Frenzy show today. I got a lot coming up for you. I'm going to give you a round-by-round breakdown based on ADP of who I think are some of the best and worst picks. We're going to do a couple of mock drafts. I've got my predictions for the top 10 players at each position in fantasy football for the year. So stay tuned for all of that and more. You're going to dominate your leagues with all this fantasy advice you're getting today. But there is some other important sports news going on that we're going to cover and talk about before we jump into the fantasy football frenzy. So we'll just get right into it with college football making its triumphant return this Saturday, August 29th. We've got a couple of Power 4 matchups that are worth emphasizing. North Carolina versus TCU. That's going to be the game in Ireland, the Dublin Classic. Looking forward to that one. It's going to be interesting to see how North Carolina looks in year 2 under Bill Belichick. TCU, probably a good preview of how they're going to look this season. I mean, they lost a lot of players through the transfer portal, including their starting quarterback, Josh Hoover, over to Indiana now. So how did they replace and refill talent? And what is their outlook going to look like in a pretty tough Big Ten conference coming up here? We've also got NC State and Virginia, two ACC teams. I'm not clear on if this one is going to be one of those games that doesn't actually count towards your conference record. They had a game like this last year. I think it was at NC State was one of the teams involved where they were playing a conference opponent, but in a non-conference, and one of those weird scheduling quirks. But still, we'll give us our first little preview at some of the power dynamics in the ACC. Virginia, the runners-up last year, going to be a different landscape in the ACC this year. Are they going to be able to pull this off? Chandler Morris, no longer there, so it's going to be interesting to see who's going to take over that starting quarterback role for the Cavaliers. Those are two really exciting matchups in the Power 4 between top Power 4 teams. We've got some interesting Group of 5 matchups. Florida State taking on New Mexico State, one of the hopeful teams one of the better, at least on paper, preseason looking teams for the Power 6. So Florida State should still win that game, but it'll be interesting to see what New Mexico State has, and I think this will give us a good idea of how good that team's going to be, and if they're going to be able to make some noise in their conference or not. I'm also looking at Memphis and UNLV. Those are going to be two potential playoff hopefuls out of their respective conferences. I mean, UNLV their best chance of making the playoff is just running the table and dominating the Mountain West. I'm thinking like one loss maybe puts them in there. And then Memphis, one of the favorites in a really good American conference, probably the best Power Six conference of them all. So for this season, so that's going to be a fantastic matchup at Allegiant Stadium. They'll be playing on the Raiders' home field. That game will be on Fox. Really good matchup to watch out for there. A couple of teams also will be making their FBS debut that day. So Sacramento State traveling to Eastern Michigan, fellow MAC opponent there that they'll be taking on. So we'll get to see our first look at Sac State in the FBS. And North Dakota State will be hosting Jacksonville State for their very first FBS debut. A team that I thought, they've been dominating and running the table in the FCS for years. So we'll see them potentially with all the new team eligibility restrictions gone. I don't think a bowl game is off the table. They could be one of the top teams in the Mountain West. Who knows? Maybe their season goes so well that they're in playoff talks. They've got a great program. Both the Dakota State schools have been really dominant in the FCS for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised to see North Dakota State win 9-10 games this year. Then our last other two matchups for week 0. USC is probably going to absolutely slaughter San Jose State. Their team, I think, in an already very stacked Big Ten, are a team I think a number of people are sleeping on is USC. I mean, you've got the Ducks, Ohio State and Indiana are there, obviously. Michigan, always a big time school to watch out for. But Jade Mailata rather, coming back for another year. They did lose Malachi Lemon to the NFL draft, but I like what they've got on the defensive side of the ball still. I think they retained a good amount of starters there. The line is looking really good, and they've got a good amount of talented backs on the roster. So, including Wayman Jordan, the senior, who's going to be probably getting the start for most of the year. I think USC could be a very good team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of the top offenses in the country. I think they could really be a team that's scoring like 35 a game against, because they really are able to put up a lot of points. And then we also get a little preview of Hawaii, who I think is that third team to really watch there in the Mountain West, especially now with Boise State and San Diego State gone. Like, Hawaii had a really great season last year, retained a good amount of that roster. I think that could be one of the big problems for UNLV. We're going to kind of get to see the top 3 teams, I would say, in the Mountain West all debut on week 0. So then my question for the viewers, is week 0 the legit opening weekend, or does it still feel like just an appetizer before the full schedule starts on September 5th? I think there's a lot of great matchups. There's really only one like kind of man matchup, and that's, the 14th ranked team in the country hosting San Jose State. The rest of these, I think, are all intriguing matchups that all will have with some teams that are all going to be very relevant come November, December, that we'll be seeing playing in bowl games. So we're going to get a real good test of some of the power dynamics in the group of 6 and see who might be couple of surprise teams maybe out of the Power 4. Another college football news, the SEC and Big Ten have implemented rules to stop professionals from returning to college. We saw that with the big two were Daquan Wright and Xavier Lewis, two former Ole Miss players that had their eligibility reinstated due to the new rule that the NCAA passed, granting players a fifth year of eligibility from the 2022-21 season, something like that. And they decided to come back to college, follow their old coach Lane Kiffin to LSU, but the Big Ten set the precedent adopting rule barring athletes who appeared on NFL rosters. Then the SEC followed suit with an even broader restriction involving athletes from the NFL, NBA, and WNBA. So we're seeing, I think it was good intentioned with what the NCAA was trying to do with this rule, but it wasn't really well executed. Yeah, obviously we're seeing some of these pros coming back. So with the NIL money already making college athletics resemble more professional sports, where should eligibility actually end? That's the question I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. I do think base rule, I mean, if you sign to a pro roster, you aren't eligible to rejoin college sports. So I think the NCAA needs to do a better job of also clearly laying out what their plans are for players. Obviously it's tough for these guys. Would they have gone to the draft had they known they were going to get another year of eligibility, or would they have gone back and played? We're gonna see how this the saga shakes out. I mean, there's still a number of leagues that don't have any of these restrictions. So okay, they can't play in the SEC, can't play in the Big Ten. Maybe they go to the Big 12. ACC's looking for these guys. One of the richer power or group of 6 schools goes out and poaches these guys. That's going to be, the saga's far from over. We're gonna see more fallout from this as the college basketball season approaches. I don't think there really isn't a great answer. I do tend to lean more towards the side of the athletes. I don't I don't want these guys to you want them to have every opportunity that they can to compete and to potentially land a good contract in the pros. So it's tricky. It's definitely a tight rope to walk. I'll keep monitoring the story closely though. Moving over to the NFL, speaking of pro sports, the cut weekend is approaching. We have 32 teams must reduce 90 player rosters to 53 by Sunday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to see roughly 1,184 players potentially lose roster spots. Some of those guys will definitely come back to the practice squad. Little minor trade with the Giants are sending Josh Ezeudu to the Kansas City Chiefs, while Washington's going to be signing veteran tackle DJ Humphrey after Laramie Tunsil tore his tricep. The Patriots traded Kayshon Boutte to the Houston Texans for Jaden Higgins. So I feel for Kayshon, man, and for Patriots fans, because they drafted and had developed a pretty good wide receiver. Obviously, I know they brought in A.J. Brown, they brought in Romeo Doubs. I think Boutte could have still been a big part of that offense. But another weapon for C.J. Stroud. down there in Houston. Booty alongside the Nico Collins. You can get Tank Dell back operating out of the slot. We'll see how he looks coming off of the torn Achilles injury he suffered 2 years ago in the divisional round against the Chiefs. So, interesting trade there. I'm not really quite sure why the Patriots wanted to move on from Booty. My only thing is he's a bigger bodied receiver, definitely plays more on the outside. I think maybe they want Dobbs and Brown as your 1 and 2 on the outside, and they didn't feel like Booty would play well out of the slot. So, you got more slot guys like Demario Douglas there. But I feel like Dobbs could have played out of the slot, and you could have kept Booty on the outside. Get 2 really talented receivers. That's your Y and Z spot there. But that's just me. We think any interesting veteran players could be cut or traded before we move to the deadline. I don't really think any vets that are household names are going to be cut. I mean, you might have some journeyman guys that have just been floating around. But if you're an established veteran in this league, even if you're not going to be starting, you'll probably make a roster just for the experience and the leadership you can give to those other guys, and the fact that you can still, even if you're not playing as many snaps, you can still go out there on the field and make an impact. I'm looking, though, at a veteran player where is he going to sign? Because, yeah, he's on the other side of 30 now, but he's still one of the top tier receivers in the league. He's got elite speed. Tyreek Hill, still not on the roster. Where is he going to go? I want to know what you guys think. My Denver Broncos, we're going to have one final edition this Friday night at 7 p.m. Mountain. It'll be our preseason finale here in the Mile High City. We'll be hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Opened the preseason with a 27-7 victory over Atlanta, then lost 33-13 to Green Bay. But the important thing from those games, from both of those games, starters looked really good. And one drive, Bo Nix looked really good. He was moving around on that ankle, had a great hookup to Jalen Waddle. It was Waddle's only catch of the evening, I believe. But one catch for 35 yards on 3rd down and 6. Bo went 6 and 9 for 76 yards and a touchdown, and he dropped right into the breadbasket of RJ Harvey. Yeah. Also, I think the defense, for the most part, the starters looked pretty good against the Packers starting unit. Alex Singleton kind of he had a pretty bad mistake, which makes me a little nervous about him in pass coverage again, where he just completely left the middle of the field on a running back choice or a choice route just wide open, and it resulted in a walk-in touchdown. But Riley Moss did sustain a rib injury, but it doesn't sound like it's anything serious, which is good. The starting unit looked really good. We ran the ball pretty well. Bo, that was the most important thing, was moving good. He was accurate with his passes and just had a good command of the offense while he was out there. So don't really mind the loss that much. The starting unit looked good. Gives me a lot of hope for this season. All right, shifting gears a little bit over to the MLB. Wild card pressure is getting serious. Some of the stories from around the MLB last night: Arizona erased a 4-run deficit and beat the Cubs 5-4 on rookie Ryan Waldschmidt's 2-run walk-off homer. The Diamondbacks are now only 1 game behind the San Diego for the National League's final wild card position. And San Diego just dropped a game last night. Pittsburgh defeated them in a 1-0 defensive battle behind the 6 scoreless innings from Paul Skeens and O'Neill Cruz's 9th inning homer. the Dodgers fell to the Atlanta Braves in what could potentially be a postseason preview. What I think could be the NLCS preview. Atlanta gets the victory 4-3. The Kansas City Royals, hey, don't look now, they've won 9 straight games. A little too late though. But I guess, better late than never. They're kind of out of it. They're still dead last in the AL Central, but 9-game winning streak, nothing to scoff at. The Orioles are, they're keeping their faint hopes alive out of potential playoff berth. They crushed St. Louis last night, 13-1. So yeah, which one of these wild card teams you think is going to be built to survive in September, though? The Padres, the Diamondbacks, or is it going to be someone else? You look at their top teams around each league, like the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Braves, and you feel pretty confident that one of those two is going to be running into the other. Even in the American League, whichever team comes out of the East, I think it's probably going to be 2, maybe even 3 potentially with this wild card race. All 3 of those teams have really shown that they're capable of at least advancing around. I look at even in the Central, the White Sox I think can absolutely go deep. I don't have as much faith in the Guardians, but they could probably win a series. In the West, the AL West, Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. Neither squad's really shown me that they can. Maybe the Mariners sneak back in there. Those all feel like kind of whoever wins that one. It feels very first round loss, even with the home advantage. I think they're going to be just better wild card teams that get there. Me personally, I think the one team, if you're looking at any team that's going to be a potential wild card, it's the Chicago Cubs. They just have the unfortunate circumstances of having the Brewers in their division and just being in the more competitive league. You move the Cubs over to the American, and they're the 2 seed, right? Like the National League's just very top heavy. There's a lot of talent here. Yeah, I think it's if you're looking at a wild card to shock some people, make a deep run, it would be Chicago. They'd have the best chance at doing that. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that. We're going to now shift over to another league, the WNBA. We have all 8 playoff teams set. It's going to be Minnesota, Las Vegas, Golden State, Indiana, Atlanta, New York, Washington, and Dallas. So it's going to be the field. We're just waiting on the season to end to see how seeding may change. Dallas captured the final berth by defeating Portland 96-78. Paige Beckers and Jessica Shepard combining for 43 points to put that game away. Minnesota owns the best record, but Golden State's defense has made the second-year Valkyries a legitimate contender. You have the Las Vegas Aces with the best player in the world. You've got both the Atlanta Dream and Indiana Fever with elite backcourt duos. You have a shining second-year player, Paige Beckers, in Dallas. The Liberty have that championship caliber team, that core that won the championship just 2 years ago, still there. Who is the most dangerous team in the field. For me, it's still Minnesota. I got to give it to the Lynx. Um, I wouldn't leave the Aces far off behind there. Uh, I think it's going to be one of those two to me. You've got the championship pedigree. I mean, these are teams that have been on these deep runs year after year. Um, I think Minnesota. I mean, they addressed their Achilles heel and their biggest crutch beautifully in the draft. And Olivia Miles has, I mean, her poise as a rookie to come in and just run an offense for this team. That is a ton of pressure on a rookie player, and she hasn't shied away from that at all or wilted under that pressure. She's got a team leading 20 points per game. She dishes out the rock, uh, nearly 6 assists per game, and she keeps the turnovers low. That's the big thing um, for somebody that has the ball and facilitates the offense so much to only have around 3 turnovers a game. It's a good assist to turnover ratio. Minnesota, just as a team in general, doesn't really turn the ball over a lot. They're just, I mean, they're very professional there, for lack of a better word. They clock in, they get to work. They know everyone knows their assignments, their roles. They get their victory, they clock out, they go home. They don't have a lot of they're not really caught up in a lot of any other off the court drama or anything like that. Like this team, they've come up short a number of times in the past. There's a hunger there, um, and they've got Nafisa Collier. Injuries have sort of slowed her down the past 2 seasons, but I mean, I think like at her peak, she was right there with like Asia Wilson in terms of dominance. Um, Kayla McBride is an elite scoring guard there, and like now she's really just like with Miles facilitating, running the half court offense for the most part. Like she's really able to just find her spots and pressure the rim, shoot her threes, and she's doing that at 42% this year. She's getting to the line a good amount, knocking down those a lot. So that's just, even you look at the depth. I mean, you have like Nia Coffey, strong player coming off the bench. Um, they don't really run too deep of a rotation too, but it works out for them. Well, they do have a deep rotation. But they're really able to keep their starters out there for a lot of minutes, and they're just able to cycle through and usually have a starter on the floor. It'll be tough to beat Minnesota, but like I said, you've got the Aces, best player in the world, championship caliber team as well. They have a pretty good backcourt duo, and Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray as well. So those are the two for me. I love Golden State's defense. Um, this is still a pretty younger, inexperienced team. We'll see. That's just always my thing. Like I want to see how they look under those bright playoff lights. All right, then a little final sports news. The Serena Williams returns to the U.S. Open. Serena returned to Arthur Ashe Stadium and partnered with Carlos Alcaraz in the revamped mixed doubles events. They won their opener before losing in the quarterfinals. The new competition uses shorter matches, features major single stars, and awards $1 million to the championship team. So cool little revamped format there. Awesome to just see two legends of the game like that get out there on the court and play together. It was a good time. Enjoyed watching that. All right, we have reached the bottom of the hour. That's going to be the sports update portion of the day. And when we come back, it's the fantasy football frenzy. It's going to be all fantasy football for the rest of the show. It's that time of the year. It's my favorite time of the year. Can't wait to do. I got drafts coming up next weekend. Not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that. And I just can't wait, folks. I really can't wait. We're going to dive into some strategies, who to target, who to avoid, all that and more coming up here on the final timeout.
To a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. And to a hero, and the love you left behind, I'll try my best to pass it on till the end of my time. And to a hero, you're gone, but I have no doubt that you have made it home. And to a hero, taken way too soon, over there in that dusty country, an Afghan afternoon. To a hero, and the little one you left behind, I hope he grows up with your passion, I'm sure he will with time. And to a hero, a warrior through and through, you were taken way too early, what can we do? Well, we can try to keep your spirits alive, we can try to be nice, we can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. To all the heroes taken from our lives, at home or in those countries, fighting for what's right. Now we can do this for you and all your kin, and make this world a better place for your kids to grow up in. And we can try to be true, admit when we don't have a clue, and be there with the ones we love until our time is good and through. And we can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. Yeah, we can try to keep your spirits alive, and we can try to be nice. We can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. Well, to a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. All right, to a hero.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final timeout fantasy football frenzy show. Just gonna jump right into this, man. I got the list pulled up for us. Gonna screen share it for everyone here to see. It is the ADP rankings from Draft Sharks. I feel like this is pretty close to a lot of the other ADP lists that I'm seeing. That just stands for average draft position. We're going to be taking a look at a redraft type league with standard PPR redraft, just meaning you redraft every year. But good tool if you are in a different type of league. But that's pretty standard one. But yeah, we've got Dynasty, Rookie, Best Ball. You can look at non-PPR, half PPR, tight end, premium, individual defensive player. All that. So we can also adjust and shift by that. But my expertise is more in the redraft and PPR type. So, and then we're looking at one quarterback. You can also change super flex, which then, surprisingly enough, look who jumps all the way up there, Mr. Josh Allen. Consensus sleeper. You can go all platforms if we want. We'll do that actually. We'll just see what it says on all platforms. So yeah, let's fire it up. So looking at the guys, 12-team leagues that'll be going in the first round. All right, this is where we might not see. I'd be surprised if London jumps up there, but wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing to see. You got the top 5, top 6. Christian McCaffrey and JSN might get swept there. There isn't really a bad pick in the first round. Maybe some risky ones would be like McCaffrey, like his injury history. He does also tend to be more injured one season than after he has a really good one where he stays mostly healthy. Is what I've kind of noticed with him. So, but his pass catching upside is so good. I like Justin Jefferson should have a big bounce back year. My only concern with him is like if something happens to Kyler Murray. I have seen in some crazy worlds Devon Achane sneak up into the first round. If that was the case, no, I don't really. I mean, he's going to get a ton of touches. We know that, but it's a bad offensive line. It's a team that's going to be trailing a lot. He's going to see a lot of stacked boxes. He'll still be a good player, but you're going to just have to really draft well behind him. He's out of anybody in the first round. I think he's got the potential for the most type of like dud games. If you want to look at some really safe options, outside of the top like 6 players, I mean, boom, right here, Amon-Ra, CD Lamb. They're in great offenses. They've got a good quarterback. They're the number one option there. Amon-Ra has the benefit of, Jahmyr Gibbs being there. So it's very difficult to divert attention away from Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's just like you can't see a lot of double teams. Safeties might have to come down and cover an elite pass catching back like Gibbs more. So, and he's a favorite target of Matthew Stafford. He always has a lot of touchdowns. Very safe pick. Same thing with like CD, number one target in a good offense. He's got George Pickens on the other side there. So he's got the benefit of can't be double teamed all the time. And then my other, I think, safest pick in round 1 that's outside the top 6, James Cook, led the league in rushing last year, touchdown machine. Josh Allen's quarterback, so he's not going to see a lot of stacked boxes throughout the season. The Bills have a good O-line, and they like running the football. They like establishing the run. So plenty of volume there. And there's no new backfield competition for him there. So moving on to the round 2 range, to be 13 through 24. Some of the guys that I might stay away from, again, like Achane, I actually don't hate him as much if you like as a round 2 pick if you can get like a real either if you get like an elite running back and you're going for like a 2 running back strategy, like let's say you get Cook and then you go and take Achan as your RB2. I don't hate that. I just have some concerns if he's your RB1. Some other guys that I'm a little concerned about. Ashton Genty, boy, if he's going back in round 2, that's just real expensive for a guy who we don't know when he's going to play, what the ankle injury is going to look like there. Brock Bowers, Josh Allen are probably going to be top 3 at their position. I mean, I'm predicting them to be the QB1 and tight end 1. So you might be like, well, why don't you like drafting those guys? I just think you're passing on really great wide receiver and running back talent to take these guys. I mean, maybe if you've got the last pick and you go Allen and then you can draft, like, don't go to Trey McBride, but you can draft like Allen and then somebody else at the turn. I don't hate that, but if Allen's going like, if somebody else is going to draft Allen like up here in like the 22 to like 19 range, just let him. And like same with like Brock Bowers. Like if he's going like before like 23, 24, you can live with that. I only really like those guys if you can get them at the turn, but like, I mean, there's still so much great talent here in the second round. I'm not super huge on Nico too, actually, but you look at like Saquon Barkley, he's still going to be great. I mean, these two guys I absolutely love. Like Kenneth Walker, the Chiefs signed no new, like they signed him to be his offense. He's got no competition in that backfield. They're really lacking on pass catchers on the outside. I mean, like your main competition's a very old Travis Kelce, and you have Rashid Rice, Xavier Worthy, guys who off the field issues, kind of get injured a lot. I mean, he is going to be a workhorse in Kansas City. I mean, he could see north of 400 touches this year, and also in pass catching. Like he will be catching passes. AJ Brown, still average like 1,000 yards a season, despite having arguably the best wide receiver too in football, in Devontae Smith. Now his main competition. I mean, they traded away one of the better guys that would have been competition for him and Kayshon Boutte. So it's Romeo Dobbs, like Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, and I think he got a better quarterback. So love that. George Pickens, I mean, you just can't go wrong with him. Same reasons for CeeDee Lamb. Two guys that could be league winners. Boom, Chase Brown, Amari Hampton. Chase Brown, I think over the last season and a half has been averaging like 18 fantasy points a game. It's still Samaje Perine, and I don't even know who the RB3 is back there for Cincinnati. So I mean, there's really no competition for Chase Brown there in that backfield. He's going to get a lot of carries. He's going to get heavy work and pass catching downs as well. Yeah, there's T Higgins and T Higgins and Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, but that works to his benefit because he's going to see, he's not going to see stacked boxes. I mean, teams are not going to be playing the run on Cincinnati, and that just benefits him. So league winner there. And then like Amari and Hampton, John Harbaugh loves to run the football. He just couldn't stay healthy last year, but now I think you've got a better offensive line. Sure, the Chargers O-line did get a little banged up losing Tyler Biotic. However, there isn't a ton of competition. Yeah, Keaton Mitchell's going to take some carries, but it's in the Mike McDaniel offense, which was the number one offense in football 2 years ago with a worse quarterback. I mean, 2 was no Justin Herbert, and so now Mike McDaniel's just focused on offensive play calling duty. Amari and Hampton, Chase Brown could be potential league winners for you. All right, and then we come into the third round. If you're taking, say you take Amari and Hampton, I don't hate taking Trey McBride there. At the turn of the third round. Again, though, I feel like you can wait a little bit and get like maybe even just a round or two and get a better potential tight end and take a shot on if you're done with your two running back strategy, if that's the way you're going, maybe you grab Malik Neighbors. I would lean more towards like a Chris Olave or Devonta Smith, even Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson was going to be like a top 10 fantasy wide receiver before he got hurt. And that was with like Justin Fields starting on the quarterback. Geno Smith's a better quarterback. I mean, yeah, I know he's not great at getting wins, but he's a better passer than anybody the Jets had last year. So Garrett Wilson, one of those three guys, if that's like your first receiver and you've stacked up on two really great running backs, you should be in a good spot. Let's see. Zay Flowers, I don't hate, but again, he's just lacked some consistency. Malik Neighbors, I wonder how explosive he'll be coming off of a torn ACL. I mean, he looks good in camp, but it's always the one thing different when you're playing in that real speed. Jeremiah Love, a guy I would probably avoid. I know they spent the third overall pick on him. The line's not very good. Again, the Cardinals are probably going to be bad. They're probably going to be trailing a lot. And there's a decent amount of competition in that backfield for him. Tyler Algier, James Conner are both still there. So, I mean, I don't think Love for a third round pick, I don't really like. You're much better off with a guy like Breece Hall that you can get here near the end of the round. Or you could potentially, Josh Jacobs should still be the workhorse back there. I just worry about some of his off the field issues that might have been a distraction from in camp. League winner right here, Jalen Waddle. The Broncos led the NFL in pass attempts last year. They traded the first overall pick for him to be the number one receiver. He's going to get a ton of targets. It's going to be a ton of volume here. Yeah. If you're a guy that passed on Trey McBride or Brock Bowers to shore up your skill position and you wait towards near the end of the third to grab Colston Loveland, I don't hate that. But again, you're looking down here, right here, bam, Tyler Warren. If you can get Tyler, say you do the first 3 rounds, I would go for 2 running backs because that position is going to be a bit more of the premium. And then at least one good wide receiver. There's a lot more wide receivers with upside. And then you can grab Tyler Warren. I think he'll be a top 3 tight end. At least top 5. Good chance he could be top 3. Michael Pittman's gone. I mean, there isn't a ton of competition for targets there in Indianapolis. So he should see a steady diet there. If that's the first tight end you're taking, I think your team's in a great spot. Javonte, we know he's going to feast on goal line touches. There isn't any real backfield competition for him there in Dallas. Guy I really like there. Some guys I would be staying away from at this point. Right here, I mean, all 3 of these. Travis Etienne, now with the Kamara injury, I don't hate drafting him and using him to trade later on. You don't have to draft the guy that's going to be on your team the entire season. Kamara's hurt, so he's obviously going to see a lot more volume. And as Kamara starts to come back from injury, he could be a valuable trade asset for you to move. So let him artificially inflate his trade value, pawn him off onto an idiot league mate, and bolster your team for a playoff run. Because I do think his volume is going to go down when Kamara comes back, but with a Kamara injury, that's a guy you want to have on your roster. And then Adams and Kyron Williams. Devontae Adams, a lot of his fantasy value came from touchdowns last year. That's just very hard to replicate. I don't think, like a 4th round pick, I don't hate Devontae, but a 4th round pick is a little too rich for my taste, especially when you're hoping, you don't know if that touchdown production is still going to be there. And then Kyron Williams, he's already splitting carries with Blake Corum, and he's really losing a lot of pass catching work to Blake Corum, which I don't like. But then Tetheroa McMillan, another guy I'm a little cautious about, just because the Panthers are kind of an inefficient offense, and I can just see that being some wild fluctuations out of him. I think like a more sure guy if you're looking for a wide receiver in this range. Emeka Ibuka should absolutely feast this year. There's no Mike Evans to take targets. Chris Godwin really struggles to stay healthy. And like he's got a great connection with Baker. He probably would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year and might have been a top 10 fantasy receiver if he stayed healthy. Injuries sort of derailed his season there. Luther Burden has a chance to be in one of the number one offenses in football. He's going to be more of a fifth round guy, but maybe you can get I think Christian Washington, Ladd McConkey, if you take those guys in the fourth, I don't hate that because again, McConkey is the number one wide receiver with Mike McDaniel. Again, had the number one offense in the league 2 years ago. He's a great coordinator. And he's just focused on play calls. And now Watson, I know there's injury concerns with him, but there's a lot less pass catchers taking targets in Green Bay. He's their big downfield vertical threat as well. He should feast this year if he can stay on the field. As we move deeper into the fifth round, some other guys I like. Honestly, if you're going to take Drake May in the fifth round, you got two really good running backs and wide receivers, then I would say go for it. I like May's situation. Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, even Jalen Hurts. If you're set there, I don't hate taking any of those guys in the fifth round. Terry McLaurin, I like. I think if he stays healthy, Jaden Daniels stays healthy. I know that's a big if, but we saw what they did 2 years ago, and the injuries didn't really mess that team up there. Another guy I really like, DeAndre Swift. Kyle Monungai is dealing with an injury, and even with that, I mean, Swift he's going to get more of the pass catching work. He's just a better pass catching back, and Ben Johnson really, even when Monungai started taking a lot of carries, like Swift still was averaging, close to 15 fantasy points a game. So he's a really solid flex, RB3 type, maybe even if in a pinch RB2. Rome Odunze, I cannot believe he's below Luther Burden. I think he will absolutely be the number one wide receiver on that team. He is a former top 10 pick. He's going to be great. Okay. And the Bears, again, could be the number one offense in football. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all with Ben Johnson there. Some guys, too, that I don't really like in here. Mike Evans, I'm just worried because he's getting older, but he is going to be the number one in San Francisco. So we'll see. I don't hate it, but I probably wouldn't take him. But it's Bucky Irving, Cam Scatabo. Those are some of the guys in this kind of range that I'm a little nervous about taking. Even Jameson Williams, he's so boomer bust. I don't like spending this early of a pick on him. Bucky's it's a crowded backfield. You've got Sean Tucker there who's going to take a lot of the goal line work. And then Cam Scatabo, they brought in Najee Harris. I'm sort of falling off on him a little bit because I think he's not going to get a lot of work on pass catching downs. Najee's going to be kind of more of the blocking, back there. Got a comment here. Thoughts on Bryce Young Coker against the Bears? Talking about the preseason game, correct? I do like Bryce Young's connection with Jalen Coker. But I don't know. Who else do you got? Are you talking in fantasy? I don't think the Bears played them in the preseason. Man, I'm just, the whole Carolina offense kind of worries me. They were just super inefficient last year, and they're going to have a tougher schedule. I don't think the Bears defense is all that good. However, I'm just, in general, I'm not too confident on anybody from Carolina. Week 1 DFS. You know what? I don't hate that for a week 1 matchup. Actually, I would if Coker's your flex. I don't think he should be one of your wide receiver one or two. But if he's like your flex, and then you've got Bryce Young, you've got that double dip possibility there. Like I said, I don't think the Bears defense is going to be all that good. They kind of thrived off of turnovers, but they really weren't all that good at stopping people. And besides, like, they added Josh Jobe to that secondary, but I don't think it's still one of the weaker ones in the league. How'd you rank Kyren, Brees, Javonte, Jacobs, and Etienne? All right. I got to put Kyren at 5th there. Blake Corum stealing all the pass catching work there and splitting the snaps really worries me about Kyren. And I mean, like, Blake Corum was just the more explosive back at the tail end of that season. And we saw him get a lot of work on third downs and things like that. So he's just going to have more opportunities for things that give running backs upside, which is those catching passes and being on the field on third down. After that, I got to go Jacobs. I think he will still be solid. Green Bay is obviously going to rely on him heavily. He's just been, with his legal issues, I always worry about how that's a bit of a distraction for a player. And he was a steady fantasy option, but he wasn't, he was like an RB. He was really a fringe RB2 to more of an RB3 kind of guy. Next, I would probably go Etienne, Etienne, however you want to pronounce that. But I love him for early in the season with the Kamara injury, but I do think you're going to have to trade him. Once Kamara comes back, you're going to see his volume go down. But like I was saying, you don't need to draft a guy to have him on your team all year. If you want to draft a guy because you want to have him for the first part of the season and then try to trade him away, or you think he's going to be great for a month and a half, and then you're not going to get a ton of value out of him, that's fine. And you can package him up in a trade deal, something like that. I think Travis Etienne is a perfect example of that. So he's going to see a lot of work with Kamara hurt, but when Kamara comes back, that's going to go down. Then I got to go with Javonte. He's not incredibly explosive as a runner, but he's just a great between the tackles back. And we just saw him absolutely feast at the goal line last year. It's the same Cowboys offense. I mean, Pickens, CD are both back. A really drama-free offseason from Dallas. Jake Ferguson's back as well. That's going to be it's going to be a good offense again. They're going to see he's going to see a lot of goal line work. He's going to have a steady diet of touchdowns. He could probably also, with no real competition, run for like 1,200 yards and have like 10 to 13 touchdowns. But then I got to go with Breece Hall at 1. His pass catching upside is just through the roof. The offensive line for the Jets, one of their sneaky best qualities. The Jets have a really good offensive line. And we saw with a really banged up team, I mean, he still put up like 1,400 yards on the ground. He's got there's a better quarterback. Garrett Wilson, you think should be healthy. We're forgetting Omar Cooper is out there. I think he's primed to just really replicate what he did and potentially see more touchdowns. Yeah, I'm between Breece and Javonte. I like Breece's upside. I think Breece has way more upside because, again, he's a better pass catcher. And when I'm evaluating running backs, guys that will get involved in pass catching downs, especially with somebody who's explosive as Breece Hall, like he's the type of guy who can turn like a screenplay into a 30, 40, 50 yard gain, a potential house call. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside outside. He's just got so much versatility there. And the Jets were porous. They were horrendous last year. And I don't know all of his stats off the top of my head, but he still had a very good fantasy season. And their offense is just going to be better. So I can only see that him improving in that sense, getting more opportunities in the red zone and at the goal line. So I would, if you're between Brees and Javonte, I would go with Brees. Yeah, it might change if Jacobs' suspension went away. Because again, he's just like Javonte in my eyes, where it's like he's like, I don't think he's nearly as explosive as he was in Oakland. But again, he's a big physical runner that runs between the tackles. He's gonna get a lot of goal line work. But yeah, just the suspension and overall, I don't like when players have like a legal battle and legal troubles affecting them while they're in camp, because I just think it's a distraction that makes it more difficult to learn the offense. And especially these issues, plus Marshawn Lloyd's had a good preseason, makes me worried about, he wasn't the most productive running back last season. And it makes me worry about how his consistency, how that's going to be this year, But if you're going, out of those five, Brees is definitely the best. And Kyron really worries me. I think he'll be all right to start the year, but I'm like, just for the price you're going to have to spend for him, I could see it feels too steep for how much his production could potentially drop. I mean, Blake Corum is really good. And his legs did help carry JJ McCarthy to a national championship. Let's not forget that. All right, moving down into, I'm going to move along some of these other guys down here in the ADP range. This is where we're starting to see some more tight ends go. In this range, David Montgomery, kind of a sneaky ad as an RB3 there. Not a lot of real competition for him in Houston besides maybe Woody Marks, but yeah, I think you'll see a steady diet from him. Tucker Kraft is my favorite tight end of the whole fantasy draft. I mean, coming back into that Green Bay offense where he was just so good. I mean, he's got like prime Kelsey levels of explosiveness with the ball in his hand. And now Dontavian Wicks is gone. Romeo Doubs is gone. You're going to see Josh Jacobs not going to be a big, dealing with a suspension, that type of stuff. So like guys like Watson, Tucker Kraft are going to see a lot of love from Jordan Love, because those are guys he trusts and that he's going to really depend on. So that's why like Browers, Colston Loveland, Trey McBride, Tyler Warren, I don't hate taking those guys at that point, but if you can get weight back a little bit and then get like Tucker Kraft or even Sam Laporta, you can get a lot more value from like some other skill positions, and then grab these guys who both have like top 5 potential. I mean, Laporta had a bit of a sophomore slump last year, but he's still that big target for Jared Goff in the red zone. He's going to be in a top 5 offense. I mean, the Lions are still going to be an elite offensive unit. So these guys they've both got top 5 fantasy tight end potential here. Harold Fannin, I'm a little cautious on, just because Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston have had really good camps. And last year, his targeted competition was like Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. And he took David Njoku's job. So this year, I just think like, I don't hate it, but if you can grab one of these two guys, I would rather take them, and then maybe you can wait a second on Fandon. And then with Quinshon Judkins, he's in a very similar Kyron Williams situation where he is getting no pass catching work. It's all Dylan Sampson when they need a running back to run around. So that makes it difficult for you to get on the field a lot. And plus, the Browns are going to be terrible. They're going to be trailing a lot. For a guy that's going to have to make a lot of his fantasy value on getting carries, I don't think QJ is going to be able to do that. Be able to really carry the workload for you. That's a duo right here that I love. This whole stretch. All right, 73 to 80. If you're in this range, like if you're waiting until here to grab a quarterback, I think you're a genius, because I mean you are getting some incredibly valuable players here, and then you can really stack up on some more of the top end skill position guys and still get. I mean, there's 5 guys here that I think could have a good shot to be top 10 in fantasy. Brock Purdy's he lights it up in the Kyle Shanahan offense. Caleb Williams, especially if his accuracy improves. The Bears, again, I just wouldn't be shocked if they're the number 1 offense in football. Kyler Murray's in the best situation with the best head coach of his career, and hands down, some of the best pass catching weapons around him. Plus, his rushing upside is fantastic. And then Dak Prescott, I mean, Dak might be an MVP talks, guys. I think Dak is going to light it up. I mean, he's been like a top 10 QB in the league. The Cowboys just kind of choke in the postseason. That gets him kind of undervalued as a quarterback, but as a fantasy guy, like Dak, he can just light it up, and he's got the best weapons of his career. And while I think the Cowboys defense has improved marginally, I do think that he's still going to have to probably score, like 27, 30 a game. I don't think they'll get into some of these like 40 to 37 shootouts or games that they had there last year, but there's definitely a possibility that he's going to have to score against some more of the elite offenses. Like the Cowboys are going to have to score like 35 to 42 a game. Like he's going to light it up. Parker Washington could be the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. I mean, we'll see how Brian Thomas, if he can kind of get over his fear of going across the middle. But yeah, then him and Trevor Lawrence has great rushing upside. So this range right here, if you can get any of these guys in this range, if this is like and any of these QBs are your first quarterbacks, I think you're going to do really good. I'm just kind of staying away from the New England backfield. It's going to be very split. So I don't trust that too much. Like who's going to be the guy week to week. Travion, like his thing, he's going to really just live off of those explosive runs. So I don't like those guys that you really have to kind of hope for them to rip off a big one to have a solid week. Fantasy wise, I don't hate Jalen Warren, Jackson Dart, but we're going to skip down a few more. I love Bashal Tootin. I know Chris Rodriguez is going to be splitting work with him, but Tootin should be good enough to win the majority of snaps there. Look at what Liam Cohen's done with running backs the past 2 seasons. Bucky Irving, breakout, top 10 fantasy finish. Travis Etienne, breakout, top 10 fantasy finish. Now it's Bashal Tootin's turn. Tootin's the better pass catching back. He's going to get that. And Liam Cohen loves throwing to his running backs. We saw Etienne, like that was a huge part of his fantasy upside, was all the receiving touchdowns. Yeah, I would grab Tootin. Carnell Tate is going to be the number 1 in Tennessee. Bo Nix. That's your first quarterback? Come on. I don't hate that either, guys. Bo's pretty good. He's got rushing upside too, and now he's got Jalen Waddle there as well. Mahomes is a guy, again, he doesn't have a ton of pass catchers. I think they're going to lean more heavily on the run, so I might fade off of him a bit. Jonathan Brooks, he's moving up boards a little too much for my liking. I hope to God he stays healthy. I mean, it was just hard watching this man get hurt year after year. But he's coming off of multiple ACL injuries. I just don't think he's going to be anywhere near the same player. As we scroll down here a little bit more, you know, these guys, some of these guys got solid upside. Definitely worth it. You know, that nobody that I would be like terrified to pick. Chris Godwin, I might stay away from. He is dealing with an injury. You know, he's just had trouble staying healthy the past few seasons. Again, like JK, it's kind of a crowded backfield. So same thing with Broncos running backs. It's just a crowded backfield. I would probably stay away from the Broncos backfield because I just don't know week to week. It's like going to be like, who's going to be the featured back? Like, you know, RJ is going to get a lot of pass catching work. JK is the better runner. Jonah Coleman's going to factor in there somehow. I would stay away from the Broncos backfield. Tyler Shuck could be a sneaky league winner. I'm fading him a little bit though, just because of the Jordan Tyson thing. Like at this range, like Jordan Love's just a more sure thing. But if you, at this point, if you want to stash Shuck and when Tyson comes back, I think we could really see that offense explode. And he would be just a fantastic backup quarterback to have. Jordan Mason's a guy I might just stay away from because he's just been very disappointing the past 2 years. I don't think Minnesota's going to run the ball a ton. I think they're going to want to air it out more. Anyways, I would stay away from Quinshon Judkins. Josh Downs, this is a guy that I can't stop drafting. Like, if you can get him, I mean, like, think about Michael Pittman's gone. I mean, they brought in Keenan Allen, but that's a old Keenan Allen. Like, he is going to get just a ton of targets there. If there's somebody else who whose name I can't even remember that he might have to compete with, but it's not a lot of competition for Josh Downs, especially if the value you can get at him down here. Like, he could be one of the best sneaky late round additions. Carolina, Chuba Hubbard. I'm avoiding their backfield. I'm just not loving it. Kenneth Gainwell at this juncture, get just a very crowded backfield there in Tampa Bay. Kind of want to stay away from that there. Like, I'd rather get Blake Corum. Like, the fact that like Kyron's going in the second round and Blake Corum's going like all the way down around like the 135 range is insane to me. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I like too, but I would rather take Blake Corum. I think he's gonna be the RB1 by the end of the year, and in Los Angeles, that wouldn't surprise at all. And hey, I know Kelsey's old, but Mahomes trusts him. He's gonna see a lot of targets. And PPR wise, he's gonna just see a lot of pass catching volume. So if you're in a pinch and you need a tight end, he's still a safe option for you down here. A couple of other guys that I think are going to be that I love down here, Malik Willis and Casey Conception. Look, I know the Dolphins are going to be bad, but at this price point for Malik Willis with his rushing upside, I like it. I really do. I think this is not a bad spot. Maybe he's your second quarterback on your roster. He's still going to have some favorable matchups. The rushing upside is going to be there. I know he doesn't have a ton of weapons to throw it to, but at pick 146 in this range, good price point. That's like around the 10th round. Same thing with like Casey Concepcion. He's going to be the wide receiver one. We saw his versatility. He's going to probably get some carries, things like that. So boom, I would go. I love him for a 10th round price point. I mean, you're getting like a potential top 10 rookie fantasy player right there. Don't draft Brandon. I know Brandon Aubrey's enticing. He's got the huge leg and everything. Just wait till the last round to draft the kicker, please. Matthew Golden, great value down here. Same thing with Cam Ward. It's going to be a better season. Cam's a good improvisational quarterback. Would be a good QB2, good backup to have if you need one. Then as we come down here a little bit more, nobody that I'm necessarily terrified or that I hate. Jordan Tyson, great stash player here. I'd maybe avoid Debo. I don't think he's going to be very valuable. I mean, Dejon Stribling's definitely much more valuable. Maybe with the Genti injury, might be worth taking Mike Washington. I wouldn't be surprised to see him jump up here. And honestly, if you want to hold out and wait on taking a tight end, get Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson in this range. Goddard led all tight ends in touchdowns last year. Ferguson's going to be in the lead offense. Now A.J. Brown's gone, so that's even more red zone targets for Dallas Goedert. Think about that. Then we start to get into defense and kicker range here. Even down here, Isaiah Likely. I mean, come on, he's tight end 1 in New York. That's great value down here. Even Brenton Strange, there's no competition for him in Jacksonville. Yeah, this is where then you're kind of getting to the end of your drafts, and it's like where you're taking your kickers and your defense. I'm a guy like there's maybe 5, maybe even 4 defenses that I would draft to have like the whole year. That's like the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Texans, probably the Rams. I feel like if you're going to want to, those are the 4 defenses that if you're going to play them each week, they're going to, hold people to a few amount of points. They shouldn't get scored on a lot. The Broncos have a great pass rush. I think they'll be better at taking the football away again last year. Like Seattle did lose a few pieces on defense, but still got one of the best defensive head coaches in the league. Good elite special teams with Rashid Shaheed. You've got the return potential there. The Rams, I mean, Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, all those guys added to what was already a really good defensive unit. And then Houston should be the best defense in the league. I think they just got better with the draft. I mean, now with Caden, like their big weakness was, I mean, they weren't great on the interior defensive line, but now you have like some big Caden McDonald there, who's looked great in the preseason, pro ready coming out of Ohio State. Will Anderson on the edges with Daniil Hunter, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie. Those guys still back there in the secondary. They brought in Ray Blankenship. I mean, it's going to be Kamari Lassiter. It's just going to be sick. I mean, they're like teams are going to be scoring like 14 points a game on this unit. They should get plenty of takeaways just from pressure and all that type of stuff. So, all right, we're gonna stop there and go ahead to our next break. Let me bring myself back up here. Do another quick music break. When we come back, I'm going to drop my top 10 by position, and then we're going to dive into another mock draft or two. So, hey, if you haven't drafted yet and you know what position you're picking in and what your league's format is, drop it in the comments. I will draft from your position and show you what my strategy and my thoughts are on that. So stay with me. Stay with me. You're watching the final timeout here on Military Broadcast Radio.
Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. At 19 years old, he was sent off to war, not really sure what he was fighting for. So he fights for what's behind him and his brothers beside him. Together they'll weather the storm. 9 long months later and he's still alive. Fought several long battles you shouldn't have survived. Then the IED exploded as the ambush unfolded. He laid there bleeding as his brothers all died. Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. Reinforcements arrived in the nick of time. Old Doc had found him and called in the nightline. He awoke in the hospital, they patched all the holes. Too bad they couldn't fix the ones in his soul. And 16 years later he locks all the doors, unable to find anything worth living for. His family has left him, he feels society rejects him. With a bottle and a pistol, he falls to the floor. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he sat there and cried, with only his memories sitting there by his side. Brothers and sisters, we can't lose this war. Have we forgotten what the hell we fought for? Pick up the phone, don't knock on a door. 22 too many, we must carry on, fighting these battles until they are won. We know that we walk on the edge of a knife, but one simple call can save a life. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final Timeout, your military broadcast radio. I had a comment come in from Twitch from T Glenny 12. Told me he is pick 9 in a 12-man half PPR league. We're going to go ahead and mock draft for him right now. Perfect. We got 12 teams set up here. I'm all ready to go. We're going to just jump into it. Yeah, half PPR can be one of the leagues I'm in is half PPR. It's interesting. Definitely want to look at guys that are going to see a lot of chances to get yardage and touchdowns. Receptions are still important, obviously, but I look for guys that are in explosive offenses. So you've got two good options here. It's a tough spot to pick. Running backs are definitely going to be very valuable in here. I wouldn't hate if you go with Amon-Ra St. Brown at this spot. I mean, again, he's going to get a lot of love in that Vikings off or that Lions offense, but having a great or elite running back in half PPR is just really important. I usually try to make sure by round 3 I've got 2 good running backs. In this case, I'm going to go with JT here, but like I said, if you would go Amon-Ra on that spot, don't hate that either. Yeah, I got you, man. We're gonna do the full thing for you. All right, so here we are at pick 4. Now, I don't know what strategy you want to implement. The fact that you were able to get Jonathan Taylor, and now we've got Henry, we've got Devon Achane here on the board. I do like Achane if I can get him as my RB2. There's a pretty significant drop off in running back quality after like round 4, whereas there's a lot more wide receivers with a lot more upside, I think. So in this spot, if you don't feel comfortable not getting a receiver in round 2, I understand that. I would go AJ Brown. But fortune does favor the bold. I like Devon Achane just a little bit more because he's the younger player, gonna see more volume in this system. Him and Derrick Henry are pretty close for me, but I'm gonna go with Achane here. And now we're gonna look for our next 2 to 3 rounds. We're gonna look for wide receiver upside here. All right. So this is where we get to Malik Neighbors, Chris Olave, 2 guys I really like here. I'm going to go with Olave. We got Neighbors coming off of that Achilles. He looks really good in camp. I'm always just a little skeptical on players that are coming off of, or not Achilles, ACL, off of injuries like that, because they tend to, even if they get it going later in the season, they tend to not be as explosive or look the same early on. Olave, fully healthy, one of the better quarterbacks he's had in his career, and especially when Tyson comes up, that should open up even more for him in the pass catching game. But for now, he's going to see a lot of targets. So bang, there we go. And ooh, man, in this spot, here we go. We've got 2 fantastic options to fill in their wide receiver 2 spot. Garrett Wilson was on an elite pace before his injury. I don't hate taking him here. I am a Broncos fan, so the homer in me is going to go with Jalen Waddle at this spot. But 2 of these guys, they're the number 1 in their offense. Wilson got a quarterback upgrade in Geno Smith. I mean, that's better than anything the Jets had last year. Plus, he's got Omar Cooper, that receiver from Indiana that should help alleviate some of the coverage he's going to see. But Broncos traded a first-round pick for Jalen Waddle. They love throwing the football. We're going to go with Waddle. All right. As we move along here, see some of the picks going off the board. All right. Bang. We're in an interesting spot here. Okay. Couple of ways. Oh, yeah. Jalen Waddle also got one of the most criminal receiving lines for the season. Like, I think his line is like 875.5. Like, Jalen Waddle, has been 1,000-yard receiver every season that he's been healthy. Like the only time he hasn't been able to crack it is when he's been injured and missed games. Like Waddle, like on the Broncos, like we traded that first round pick. We want him to be heavily involved. We need a receiver that Bo can depend on throwing the football to over the middle. I mean, we've got like Cortland Sutton. He's great at catching it outside the numbers, but we need a guy that we can throw to over the middle. All right, as we get to, what are we on? Your 5th pick here. We're in an interesting spot. I'm telling you right now, I'm eyeing these 2 Packers. Got some other interesting options here, but for me, if you want to go and get your tight end spot here, I don't hate taking Tucker Kraft here. I really like Kraft. I'm going to go with Christian Watson here, though. I just like he's got that downfield, threat, but also like he's going to be the new number 1. I mean, he's got the height to get a lot of red zone targets as well. He can take the top off of a defense. I really like it. I mean, he's seeing probably at least 50 to 60 new targets this year with Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs gone. All right, looking at where we're at here, a couple of interesting options. I mean, we waited. Now we can go get you a tight end if you want. I'll also just see who's available at the running back spot. I do want to get you a solid running back 3. So we're going to go, I think I'm going to go Jalen Warren here, but I would also, like Sam Laporta would be my second choice here. I'm between 2 of those. I do value having a solid, dependable running back 3. Between Warren and Tony Pollard, I like Warren just a little bit more because the pass catching work. And Rodgers did like throwing. Kenneth Gainwell's gone, but Rodgers really liked throwing to Kenneth Gainwell out of the backfield. So we're going to go with Jalen Warren here. Get a little depth going on the bench now at this point. As we keep moving all along. All right. Here we are. This is pick. We're in round 709. All right. Well, and here's where you can go and fill in your tight end spot. I mean, Kittle's a very dependable tight end. He's going to be top 10 again this year. His only concern, maybe he'll get hurt a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to probably stay away from Kyle Pitts. I don't want to fall into the trap again. For you, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fill in your tight end spot here. And then we're going to wait. And we can probably grab you a quarterback now as well. And I kind of just, at this point, let's see who we still got here. All right, like if you're at this point, these 5 guys are here. It's kind of just who you like the best. I think they're all going to have phenomenal seasons. Maybe I'm a little bust. I'm going towards Dak. Like, I know they're saying that's a little bit above his ADP, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dak get close to 5,000 yards this year. I'm telling you, the Cowboys are surprisingly locked in here. But okay, I don't know why it didn't put George Kittle in your tight end slot and why he's on the bench. That's a little buggy. So you should have a tight end. At this point, I mean, this is round 9. This is great value, I think, for him here. Josh Downs. Really, I mean, he really has a shot to be wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis. And at this point, I mean, you've already got three pretty good wide receivers as well. So now you have him here as somebody you can maybe stash. And then when you look to trade one of these guys, he can slide into your lineup. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Now we're going to want to get just a bit more running back depth here. We're going to go with Woody, most upside here. Charbonnet has got Jadarian Price to compete with. Chris Rodriguez is probably going to lose a lot of his work with Bashal Tutin. Rashad White, yeah, he'll probably be the pass catching back for like a little bit at the beginning of the season, but the Commanders really seem like they want to get Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt involved in that. And then Keaton Mitchell, Marion Hampton's just so sick. I just think it's going to be tough for him to hit the field. Woody Marks is a good change of pace to David Montgomery, so I think he's just got the most potential to see the field a lot. Or if you want, you can go Mike Washington Jr. and grab him to have on your team for the first few weeks of the season. I'm going to go with Woody, though. I would want more information on how bad that Genty injury is. I don't know yet, like how much time he's going to miss. All right. We are moving it along here. Next spot. Well, I mean, it's interesting that he is still here on the board. I will say I do like having a good backup quarterback. I wouldn't taking Kyler Murray in this spot, but I'm going KC Concepcion. I mean, if he should go in the 10th round, but if he's still here in the 11th, especially, this guy, he's gonna be the number one. I know the quarterback situation isn't great. He's probably not gonna do great the first few weeks when Deshaun's in there, but Shedeur is eventually going to come in. That offense has a little bit more upside with Shedeur. Like I'm confident that Shedeur is going to see the field, and then we're going to see KC Concepcion. He's already going to be solid. I think he's going to just break out even more, but that's a great price tag for a guy with so much upside here. Wow. They just had maybe not down the field. Deshaun looks pretty rough, but Todd Monken, Browns head coach, you got to think like what he did with Zay Flowers, who is kind of in a similar mold as KC, where he's got so much athleticism. He's going to probably get KC. We saw this in the preseason a little bit too. He's going to get him involved in the running game, which I like that. I like that as well. And then the other thing is KC's a little bit of a bigger body than Zay Flowers. So, if the Browns can get into the red zone, he'll see some red zone targets, things like that. And he's just so explosive. So I don't know what your scoring system is and guys, other special teamers, but I wouldn't be surprised if he runs a punt or two back this season as well. I know some leagues will give you the touchdown, just not the yardage, if your guy's in the return game and gets a special team score. All right, here at pick 12, I don't know why it's bugged and saying that George Kittle's not in our tight end spot. That's a little annoying. Here, I think is a good spot though to grab some depth at your quarterback. I do think it's important to have a solid backup. And also, I mean, just week to week, sometimes your QB is going to have a very brutal matchup. Even if they've got a good offense, it can be a brutal matchup for a quarterback. And I mean, this is really sneaky, but Jared Goff at this point could be your QB1. Once you get past, I mean, if one of your league mates is hurting for a quarterback too, like once you get past his bye, you could potentially put him in the trade if you just want to ride with Dak Prescott. And then, I know some people, they like to try to risk it with only one quarterback, but then you're trying to grab the waivers and then there are just some weeks where I feel really, really uncomfortable starting my quarterback against an elite defense because I feel like, yeah, they might win the game, but this is going to be a game that they're going to win ugly. All right. In the round 13 here, if you wanted to go for a defense at this point, looking at some of the teams that are available, Packers should be really good when they get Micah back. Jesse Minter taking over for the Ravens. I like. The Eagles are going to be solid. I love Brian Flores, Brian Flores. I don't know why I pronounced it so weird. Baker Layth ain't bad too. Yeah. I think Goff just sitting there in the 12th round was like, I mean, hello, you got two great options each week. The only conundrum there is like sometimes it might be hard to decide who you got to start, but that's a good problem to have. That means they both should do good. If you want to take a defense here, I don't hate it. Let's see. This is a standard 15-round draft. I'm the type of guy where I'm like, if I could, I might just stream a defense. I don't know if I'm like going to necessarily keep any of these teams all year. The Vikings, I think, have the highest possibility. I think they're massively undervalued. They were insanely dominant, especially late in the season last year. I mean, that was like they were playing with like a playoff caliber defense. They just had a high school level quarterback, but could potentially. I think because it's bugged, it's going to make me have to draft the tight end because those are the only 3 spots open, and it won't move George Kittle up there. If you want to go with a second tight end, you can. Just to give you an idea of what you might be looking at with this bugged. Dylan Sampson, I know it's half PPR, but just the work he could get on pass catching downs. I like Marshawn Lloyd with Josh Jacobs, suspension looming, dealing with some legal trouble there. We could see him be the starting running back for Green Bay, so that's not a bad snipe this late to go with there. Like I said, I would probably avoid Broncos backfield. Tyler Algier is an interesting one. I don't hate that. Maybe even Alvin Kamara. Then if you want to look at some of the wide receivers that we got available here, I'm probably going to try to draft Matthew Golden because, again, he's going to be the wide receiver too in Green Bay. I know it's a little weird having 2 receivers from the same team, but I think they both have a lot of potential. So, who knows? Maybe Watson is breaking out, but then you trade him and you can just slide Golden in there and still see that, see the similar production because he's going to see a lot of work outside. Like he's been taking a lot of wide receiver 2 reps. He's not going to be the slot guy. That's going to be more Jaden Reed. So it's going to give him a lot more options at his route tree. So I'm going to try to get Golden. Okay. Looks like it took him. All right. Then we got our final 2 picks here. This is where our first get a defense for week 1. You're definitely going to want one there. You're not going to have to try to get one off of waivers. Go Green Bay. I don't think they're going to be that great to start, depending on Micah Parsons' timeline. Pittsburgh is always solid. I don't think the Ravens did bring in Trey Hendrickson. I love Jesse Minter as a coordinator. So for me, it'd be between the Ravens and the Vikings. I'm going to go with the Ravens just because they're in the weaker division. The Vikings are going to have to play 3 very potent offenses twice a year. And so while I do think they've got the better players, they're going to have a bit of a tougher schedule. So I'm going to go with the Ravens on this one. The benefit of playing like the Browns and Old Man Rodgers and the Bengals' crappy offensive line twice a year. And then I always just save kicker for last. That's just what I think that's just the way to go. kickers they can be pretty interchangeable. So yeah, I'll be looking for somebody that's on a good offense. You want a team that's going to be uh, getting across the 50 and in field goal range a good amount. So Tyler Loop was honestly pretty good despite the devastating miss. I don't hate Trey Smack here. It's kind of just who you're feeling. I would ignore this at this point. I mean, you're taking them with your last tick. Chris Boswell is always very dependable. Chase McLaughlin's super accurate. Bucker did struggle a bit last year, but he has been pretty dependable overall. Jake Elliott, you can't really go wrong with. So, I mean, at this point, it's just kind of whoever you like most. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll stack Boswell to be the guy for a while because, I mean, he's just got a great leg and he's always a very dependable kicker. Well, the draft probably went with Henry over Achane in the second. I'm just scared of how the Dolphins offense will do. Everything else is sold. I agree with. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was looking between Achane and Henry as well. I just went with Devon because he's got all the touches, all the upside there that I like. Henry was still very dependable. There were just some points in the season where he kind of went cold. I had him in fantasy and a league or two, which that was kind of frustrating to deal with. But yeah, Henry or Achane, you're in an interesting spot. If you can get JT or James Cook in that spot, I would really recommend trying to go 2 running backs in your first 2 rounds. We can mock all we want, but you just can't really prepare for some of the crazy stuff your league mates are gonna do. I mean, I've seen Ashton Genty go like 101. That was before the injury, obviously. I mean, I've seen like Josh Allen get picked in the first round. Sometimes your league mates are going to throw in a crazy strategy. But if you can go ahead and get 2 running backs early, it's a significant cliff that the running back position falls off of. So I think that's just the way to go. Thoughts on CMC if he falls there? Obviously injury concerns, but I think I take him. Yeah, I mean if somehow Christian McCaffrey is there, I would absolutely go with him. Injury concerns that's kind of a thing with every player. I know he's got a bit more of a history, but you just can't predict an injury, and you can't let a fear of injury stop you from drafting a really great player. And I mean, I know it is just half PPR, but like McCaffrey, just how much he gets involved in the pass catching. I mean, now you think about it, it's old Mike Evans, old Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall's hurt. Maybe Kittle still going to see solid work, but he's another year older. It's DeJon Stribling there. Like CMC's still going to just feast on touches in general. I mean, he's going to probably be north of 400 total touches this season. And I mean, a guy that could easily rack up, 16, 1,800, close to, scrimmage yards and like 15 to 20 scrimmage touchdowns. If he falls there, I'd be shocked because I've been seeing him go in the top 6 a lot. Maybe he drops to like 8, but I haven't seen him drop to 9. But if he is there, I would absolutely go for him. I like if that's your strategy to go for the 2 running backs. You should be able to get like JT or James Cook in that range. Both of those guys, we know they're going to be great. And then as you come around on the flip side, yeah, I think Henry or Achane should be available there for you. And then you can go get some wide receiver upside as well. So yeah, glad you liked your draft. Hopefully I helped you out with some of your strategization, and you can go and dominate your league. Pick 9. It's a tough place to pick from. 6 through 9, that's really the toughest places to pick. But if you do your research and you're a savvy fantasy player, you can still win out of that position. Appreciate it. Well, I got time to do another mock draft. If anybody else is out there in the comments wants to drop their league format and where they're picking, I can go ahead and do that for you. In the meantime, I do have a little, just made a little PowerPoint. These are my predictions for where guys are going to finish in terms of top 10 fantasy production on the season. This is obviously all very hinging on nobody getting hurt. Obviously, if there's injuries, that really changes the whole dynamic. But we'll just pop in and do the slideshow. So we're going to start at the quarterback position. This is where I think roughly we're going to see the top 10 fantasy point scores at the quarterback position. Again, like I love Allen. Allen's probably going to be QB number 1. He's got all the rushing upside. He's the rocket arm. He's an elite QB, probably the best QB in the league. He's just going so early for me in a lot of places that make me like uncomfortable taking him, where it's like you kind of just, you can still get, I mean, like the guys I got down here, like every other quarterback below him, you can get like Lamar will probably go in the 4th, maybe in the 5th. You can get like May, Hurts, Jane Daniels in the 5th. And then if you're patient, I mean, you can wait until like the Burrow will probably go 5th or 6th round. But if you're patient, I mean, you can get Dak, Herbert, T-Law, Caleb. All of those guys are going to go around the 7th or 8th round. So you like, and they're going to have, I think, pretty similar contributions to what, Allen can do. So love Josh, but man, he's just going way too early for my liking. And you can just get way more value from other skill positions where he's going. Should I trade both of my RBs, Love and Genty, for Gibbs? It would make my RB2 Jadarian Price. So you're talking Jeremiah Love and Ashton Genty. I mean, for Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, I would do that. Gibbs is a guy that is probably going to come close to 2,000 scrimmage yards this season. And now, especially with Montgomery gone, I think that's just you're going to see more goal line work for him. I think Price is, you might want to scour the waivers and see who you can find to just add some more running back depth, or see if you can make another trade for like a bench guy, just because that might leave you a little thin. But I think as Gibbs as your RB1, I mean, he's probably gonna average close to 20 points a game this season. Maybe 20. I would say probably above 20, like 22 to 23. The Seahawks didn't spend the 1st round pick on Jadarian Price to not use him. They felt comfortable letting Kenneth Walker leave and use get Jadarian Price. So I would take that. I would go for that trade. I mean, if you can get Gibbs out of that, Genty, who knows how long he's going to be hurt. We're still kind of waiting on the Raiders to stop being coy about his injury. And I don't like Love's situation. So yeah, you might be lacking. You might be a little shallow after you get out of your RB2 spot. But for Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, you can get the number 1 overall prospect. I would take it. Which kind of is a nice segue into my top 10 running backs. This is where I think they're all going to kind of finish on the season. I got the 3 best pass catching backs up there with Jahmyr, Bijan, CMC, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor. Honestly, they could flip-flop. I'm just going with Cook because he's got the better quarterback, so he's likely going to see lighted boxes. In my 10-team league, would be Burrow, Gibbs, Price, CD, London, Wilson, BTJ, Kelsey. I mean, that's a really solid starting roster. I mean, if you get Gibbs, you have 2 first-round players in Gibbs and CD Lamb on your team. London, even though I'm sussed out about that Falcons quarterback room, I think London's going to see still going to see a ton of targets. He'll survive despite the weird situation they got. Garrett Wilson going to feast. Yeah, I mean, you got a good team, man. If you can put Gibbs onto that, that's going to be a really solid roster. I think that really the only thing that would slow you down at that point would be injuries. I don't know, what's your bench looking like? Who are some of your depth guys? I could try to tell you what you might need to go shore up, what you need to shore up for your depth wise. I think really the weakest link on that starting rosters is Kelsey, just because he's not as explosive anymore, but he's still Mahomes' safety blanket. And especially if you're in PPR, he's gonna have a good year. Yeah. Take a good look at the rest of my top 10 running backs. I think this should be roughly where you see the top 10 fantasy finishers of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Marion Hampton jumps in here, or Derrick Henry as well. If Ashton Genty's ankle injury isn't that bad and he only misses a week or two, they made a lot of improvements to the line. I think he'll be good. We're going to jump over the top 10 wide receivers. I think Jamar will be the number 1. You got JSN as number 2, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra, CD, Justin Jefferson. I got A.J. Brown back in the top 10. This is, we're going to see shades of 2021, 2022 AJ when he first got to Philly and just tore it up there. Yeah, like I said, I got Mr. Garrett Wilson, who Prenegade has. Hopefully I said your name right. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. On his team. You could have, I really think, bro, you got the potential to have 2, maybe even 3 top 10 wide receivers there. I love, Wilson was, he was on the lowly Jets, but people forget Wilson was on an amazing pace before his injury, and they shut him down for the season. So, quarterback upgrade, plus he's got Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper to help open it up and maybe ease how much coverage a defense sends his way. Yeah, I think it could be pretty sick. Guys that I got in here, Mecca Buka, Lad McConkey, or 4th and 5th round guys, I think are primed to explode. Like I said, Buka is going to be the number 1 in Tampa Bay. Him and Baker got that connection. Lad McConkey is going to be the number 1 Mike McDaniel offense. Mike McDaniel had that Dolphins team in 2023 as the number 1 offense in the league. I think we can see something close to those productions. And he's got a better quarterback with Justin Herbert throwing him the ball there. Top 10 tight ends is what we're looking at here. Got Bowers and Trey McBride. It's just hard to, those guys are just both so dynamic, and despite being on bad offenses, they were on bad offenses last year and absolutely dominated. So I just don't see any reason for that not to continue. Tyler Warren, I think, could be tight end 3. I mean, he's going to be featured a lot. So if Daniel Jones stays healthy, that's going to be a pretty good Colts offense. And he's going to be a big reason for that. He's got such speed and quickness, and he's a really good route runner as a tight end. Tucker Kraft, like I said, I think his explosiveness matches out of prime Kelsey. I like Laporta, just in a great situation. I think Kelsey, just a target machine. Dallas Goedert, guy who's going super late in drafts, but led the NFL in touchdowns from the tight end position. And now A.J. Brown's gone. Go to the kickers real quick if you need to look at the kickers. Just guys on good offenses with big legs, historically pretty accurate. Top 10 defenses. the top 5 are going to be the ones that I would even bother drafting before like your second to last one. You know, you can kind of switch out extreme defenses. But the music is playing. That means we've reached the end of the show. Thanks for watching the Fantasy Football Frenzy. Hopefully, you got some good advice that you're ready to take into your drafts, dominate your leagues this year. One more time, signing off the Military Broadcast Radio on the Final Timeout. I'm HG. I'll see you guys next week.
Hi, I'm Beaker with Military Broadcast Radio TV. We're your virtual MWR, bringing veterans radio, podcasts, gaming, animation, 3D printing, and a community that never leaves you behind. Download our Roku or mobile app today.
Wisdom to share if you listen this week, so pull up a chair and stay for a spell. We're heading down a trail where good stories dwell. It started